Greetings, Patrick here. 8 questions with, and it is a beautiful late summer night here in Michigan. It is unlike the last 2 days, which saw us basically being rained under. Today was actually absolutely gorgeous, and what a great way to end the week on for the shows. Um, Thank you guys again for your support. It's been outstanding this week. We had a great talk with our good friend Joe Leone last night, talking about Scarred to Death, which I mean, I got to go around and fix all my titles. Scarred to Death. And of course, that was, because he's got other movies coming up. He's fun. He's got a great eye for talent. As you can tell by his process, he's always thinking, always creative. Um, and I also want to thank you also for supporting uh, very well supported show with Kim Durham, uh, who produced Pale Horse. That was definitely one of our best interviews of the year so far, in my opinion. Talking to Kim Durham, I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I learned a lot that night. Learned a lot. It is Anthony here. He is on his way home from work, and his birthday is coming up this Monday. So we will be celebrating all things Anthony. Uh, that's awesome. I hope you have a great birthday, Anthony. All right. So we've been working hard today. We we just walked into a couple of fun shows. One, we'll be talking in September with singer Nikki Buati, and what's really funny is I actually sent her an interview request last year on Instagram. I sent her a request, but Instagram has it whereas when you write somebody a private message, um, they don't you have to wait until they answer you back before you can proceed. I've talked about this before. It really sucks, um, but I know why they did it. So basically, if well, it does cut down on trolling and whatnot. I mean, if you choose not to answer this person who's emailing you or sending you a message and you don't answer them, well, that's it. They can't bother you anymore. Hey, brother Max is in the house, and Jennifer P. Tuck is in the house as well. We have to get another date booked, and also check out her tech. We're gonna have to do that as well. Gonna make that happen. I will get in touch with you after the show tonight, Jennifer, and what we'll do before we set up our date. What we'll try to do is set up a time where we can just talk and see how your tech is going, so we don't have what happened to us before. We'll get into a really good position where we know that when we connect, it'll be solid. Once that is established, then we'll reschedule our interview date. Um, so yeah, so I go ahead and I sent this invite, and I didn't get a response. So there's nothing you can do about that. It's you send a request out there, and it's like, hey, if they accept it, then they talk to you, then great. Um, so lo and behold, after well over a year, I get a ping from Nikki, but it's not a ping and saying hi, how are you? She wants us to vote for her for Rolling Stone magazine. Now Nikki is a singer. She's a she's like she's a jazz singer, I believe, and so she is based in New York. Now I'm sitting here and oh, that's right, Hobbs, that's right. I'm wearing my Fresno shirt today because I wanted to have bad luck. Uh, Hi, Lady Valerie. How are you? How are you? Um, so I go ahead and I see that a torch singer, and she writes, and I write her back right away. As soon as that happens, she pings me with this Rolling Stone. It's like opening the door. Now I can follow my invite from a year ago. From a year ago, Now I can follow that up with another message saying, "Would you like to do an interview with me?" And she said yes. So, so we will be talking with Nikki Buwati at the end of September because she has a new album coming out in October. So we're going to use our time to talk it in September to help hype up her record coming out in October. So I love that kind of story. Uh, I am doing well. I am doing well. We are going to have fun tonight. We have Tim and Tom Gross, who organize and run GrossFest, which is based it's a horror fan convention, and is based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And this is our first time we've actually had a convention organizer on the show. We had our very first film festival organizer. Now we have our very first horror fan convention organizers as well. So GrossFest is a growing, a growing, it's a growing entity. It's going through its growing pains every year. You know how that goes with conventions. A little year, every year gets a little bit bigger, a little bit better. Um, me, I got to tell you, I really wanted to talk to them. I really wanted to talk to them because on their last convention they had an old. I have a friend of the show on, and it was someone who I adore very much, and I have nothing but respect for. And I'm so glad that people are now discovering her on a more of a national basis because she really deserves the praise and the attention. And Tom and Tim booked her to appear at GrossFest. It's her first East Coast appearance on a on a horror convention, and I can't tell you how tickled I was to see the pictures of her. Uh, Her name's Jennifer Nagel. She's been on the show before. She's a tremendous talent, a superb actress, hardworking, and she created the character Malvoya, Queen of Screams. And so now she's starting to get all these cool conventions that she hasn't been before. A convention is not just one of those things where you just knock on the door and say, "Hey, can I be in your convention?" You have to be invited. You have to be invited. You- they if they want you, they'll come ask you. Or they'll send you an invite. A lot of people think that just because you've done independent horror, you can walk inside a convention and set up a table. That's not how it works. Um, you have to earn your spot. Even with new conventions, it's not just grabbing the first 20 people and throw them on tables and panels because you have to think about who you get for your convention and will they draw people to your convention and will it make it a success. I mean, you could have 20 people from independent horror films, but if no one knows who they are, they're not people are probably not going to really come out. So you have to get some good names out there to make it pop. Like for Grossfest, they have some other old friends of ours who are very well known in Pittsburgh. Steve Brzezinski and Eileen Isley. They, they're like Pittsburgh royalty. So when they get asked to come to a convention, Tim and Tom both know that there will be a lot of people coming out to see them because of what they've done for the Pittsburgh film community and their fans. So that's of course they're going to go into the nuts and bolts of it. Uh, I'm just from what I understand how conventions work, that's how it is. But it's exciting to catch. It's exciting to catch a convention like this on its way up because you know damn well that next year 2025 is going to even be bigger than 2024. It's going to be cool as hell. It already was this year. They have to, and you have to look at it and go like, man, we had a kick-ass 2024. What are we doing next? And just like the film festivals go, and I can tell you this by working on street fairs, the minute, the next day after your event, whether it be a street fair, whether it be a horror convention, whether it be a film festival, next year's show starts the next day after the show ends. The very next day, you're already starting to plan. You're already starting to go like, what worked, what didn't work, and the planning begins all over again. It isn't one of those things where, okay, a show's going to be here in 3 months. Let's get organized. No, when we talk to the Gross brothers, we'll find out that they already are working hard for next year. It's going to be a lot of fun talking to them. All right. Got a lot of talent in the chat. Holy crow. Look at woohoo. All right. So we got Hobbs is here. Lady Valerie in the house. Jamie Hill. One of my favorite Canadians. Mike, what's going on, sir? Mike, did you see that? I was over there last weekend and talking movies, and we ended up talking best snacks to sneak into a theater. Lovely talk. It makes me laugh. Of course, yours truly caused a little bit of controversy when I stated that I did not like Wolverine and Deadpool. I did not like it. So people were sort of surprised, and I'm like, really? I'm like, no, not a fan. Not a fan. There's Mika and Kira, double feature podcast. They will be coming onto the show. That's right. They will be coming onto the show. Let me tell you what's coming onto the show. It's starting in September because we are working hard in September. Hey, Kyle, how are you, sir? Welcome, welcome. There's Kyle right there. Kyle may have had one of the top 3 interviews of the month that I watched. He interviewed Ken Sagos from Nightmare on Elm Street, and that was the best interview I had seen with Ken Sagos. I thought it was one of the most professionally run interviews I've seen on the tube. I was really impressed, and he definitely put in the work for it. And sensational interview, sensational. I was very impressive. Most of my interviews I've seen with Ken have been a little rough, but Kyle came in there and crushed it. So, who are you interviewing next, Kyle? Who you got on the docket? And I cannot wait to see Mika and Kira. They'll be coming on to our show on September 11th. September 11th. Wow. I don't think we're going to be talking about airplanes, though. No airplane talk on September 11th. We're going to talk about all things horror on the 11th. I can't wait to talk to those ladies, the twins, the Wonder Twins. We're going to be talking all things horror. Their channel is fire. They are very popular guests in other channels, but it's time to bring them in and put the spotlight on them and get you guys to help support their channel. They have like 300 subs, and so we need to get them a few more. Their content is awesome. I was listening to their top 10 women cops on their channel and really loved it. All right, the doorbell has rang, so the brothers are here. Please help me welcome Tom and Tim Gross and to 8 Questions With, and share us out, and thank you for being here. And here we go.
Hey, there we go. I was going to say.
Yeah. All right. The stars of the show are now here. Now you guys are in front of the camera. Now before, generally you guys are behind the camera.
Yeah, sometimes.
Moving and shaking things around.
Yeah, sure.
Super glad to have you because you two will be our very first convention organizers and operators. So I'm very excited, and I have tons of questions, and I'm sure you have some very fun stories. Can you see the chat okay?
I guess. I haven't seen any. Oh, there we go. Okay, now I can see the comments.
Because I'm sure the people will be starting to ask some questions. So I think you'll, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So who is Tim and who is Tom?
I am Tom. Tim's getting himself a beer here, so.
In other words, you guys were already having a GrossFest 2025 brain session. When there's
Actually, we just did.
Glad it went there.
Yeah, we just did. We were talking about it.
Yeah, I told the chat earlier. I said how that works out. That the day after the event, the very next day, it's not, you don't have time to rest on your laurels. You don't have to sit there and say, "Well, we kicked ass. Wow, it was awesome. Let's talk about what happened at the convention." No, it's already like, "Well, that was great. What's next? What are we doing next year?"
I think you're trying to shake these up.
Yeah, usually we take a week or two off before we start talking about it, just because we need some time.
Oh, I bet. I you know what? I mean, how many years have you run the show? This is for
6. Yeah, 6.
6 years. Wow. And it's getting bigger every year.
Yeah. It seemed every year we grow a little bit more. So this year was our first time doing 2 days.
Yeah, that's a sign of growth right there.
Yeah,
that's a big sign. That means to support both days. I just had to talk to you guys as soon as I saw that. As soon as I saw that you had Jennifer as one of your guests, I just knew I had to get you guys to come on here and talk, so I could personally say thank you for doing that, because for recognizing her as being a really good human being and a fantastic actress, and she really deserves the praise that she's getting. And for you guys,
oh yeah, her latest movie, Body Count, was just absolutely wonderful.
She works her ass off.
Yeah, that movie actually really impressed me, what she did in there, because she basically did everything.
Yeah, no kidding. No. I was sitting on the outside watching her while she was making that movie, and trying to get it going, and it was a long process, but I was so glad to see her get to finally get it up and running, and out to the public's eye, because she's I think she's great.
Oh, she was awesome. She was great to talk to about it. And even after we played it at GrossFest, her and I had a short conversation after it. And it was, I had to laugh, because I even admitted to her, I was like, I seen some of the stuff you were doing early on for some other anthologies and everything. And I was like, who's the bootleg Elvira coming and doing some of this indie stuff? And then I said to her, what you did with that anthology, producing, the writing, directing, I was like, not only doing that, but playing some of the parts, doing other behind the scenes stuff. I said, that movie was that much more impressive, as just for the other mere fact that I am not a fan of anthologies, even though I just made one. But with it running, Body Count was running like an hour and 50 minutes or something like that. I said, what she did, unlike a lot of indie filmmakers, there wasn't a low point, if that makes sense, in the anthology. She kept it running very solid throughout the entire thing, which was even more impressive, going that length of time. And I said, she was just, she couldn't believe I was just even admitting to her that I was wrong. I was like, yeah, I have no problem admitting that you are not who I thought you were going to be when you showed up. So yeah, we had a great conversation, a great weekend together after that.
She's smart as a whip. I mean, there's a lot of talent in your area. Like, you have Steve Brzezinski on, you had Eileen.
Yes.
On. I mean, those two are amazing as well.
Yeah, I've known Radinsky probably since he was 12 or 13 years old now.
Yeah, Steve was a hoot. I really like him a lot too. I like him as a human being. I think
yes. Oh yes. I've been always a supporter of Steve since he was young. The stuff he's kept doing, he keeps growing, and then also his wife, who is just as talented and starting to get out there even more in different projects besides just Steve's, and really like what she's doing also.
but let's talk about you guys. Guess what? We're here to talk about you and your fest and your and GrossFest. So I guess we'll go back to I guess you guys were which brother's older?
I am.
So who influenced who on watching horror films? Because obviously you guys love horror. So who watched horror first?
Probably me because I'm older, but
I was gonna say I always watched it. I think for me it became a religion is the best way to describe it.
yeah, but who started it?
Because
about him.
he would
But I'm talking about
Chili Billy. Yeah, Chili Billy, Bill Cardell, who was also in the original Night of the Living Dead, had Chiller Theater in Pittsburgh, and basically Saturday nights, it was legendary. People would watch it in bars in Pittsburgh on Saturday nights, and very young child, especially with him getting stuck watching me. While our mother worked, I would refuse to go to bed. But as soon as Chili Billy came on, it was comfortable. I'd watch 20 minutes, I'd be out. But also, too, this was the person that introduced the Universal monsters to me. This is the person that introduced Night of the Living Dead, Creature from Black Lagoon, which is my favorite movie. He introduced all this to me. So from, I would say about the age of 3, it literally became a religion and just kept growing.
What about you, Tom? What was some of your favorite movies growing up?
Well, my all-time favorite is still Night of the Living Dead, the original. Can't beat that. I watch it every year at Halloween. It's just that one has always just stuck with me.
Yeah, that's a you know what? It's surprising. It's surprising how that movie just absolutely holds up like a rock. I mean, it's so powerful. You know,
it becomes more relevant as days go on.
Yes. You watch it today and you come away with like, God damn, have we not learned anything?
Yes.
Have we not learned anything in over 50 years, going on 6 years? Have we not learned a damn thing? And
yes.
It's like, no, not at all.
That's why as much as everybody in Pittsburgh will talk about Night of the Living Dead or Dawn, I always go with Day of the Dead. Day for me hit that hard. I think it's outside of the Road Warrior, Day of the Dead is the greatest post-apocalyptic movie ever made.
Yeah, that trilogy. I will say this:
yes.
Night of the Living Dead and Day of the Dead, absolutely. Yep. And I saw Dawn of the Dead '78 at the theater. People who are in the chat zone have heard the story where I went and saw it when I was 14. My mom, the first time ever, I used to go midnight shows at the local theater. That was the only show where, even though the theater staff knew us, every weekend we go and watch. They still had to go. We still had to go still get our parent or a guardian to get us through the door for Dawn of the Dead. That was the first time I ever saw people get sick in the theater. People running out, putting their hands over their mouth and barfing. The first time. But that being said, I love the original Night of the Living Dead. I love the commentary for it. Day of the Dead as well. I like Dawn of the Dead, the remake, a little bit more than the original. But I still appreciate.
That's a whole conversation we cannot go down.
No, we won't. We won't. I promise.
I was going to say that's because I have a whole theory on that remake.
We'll have to save that for a panel discussion.
Yeah.
But definitely those movies put Pittsburgh on the map as far as John Romero, George Romero. I mean, he, when you think of Pittsburgh filmmaking, what's coming from there, it's always going to be Romero. I don't think there's anybody else that's even close to, other than Savini maybe. But every time you think of horror films in Pennsylvania, the first thing I think of is Romero.
Well, I was going to say that's with Savini. The only reason he didn't work on Night of the Living Dead was Vietnam. He got drafted, and if he wasn't drafted, he would have been working on Night of the Living Dead when he was, I think, 18.
Well, that explains a couple of things.
Yeah.
Let me go over the chat real quick here. Yes, I agree. Hop says here, agree with the Gross Brothers. Horror is life. I went to a Day of the Dead convention in the Pittsburgh PA at the Monroe Mall. I agree with that, Tom. Hops needs to make a trip up to GrossFest. I'll talk to you about that off camera because I was going to ask. Well, no, I guess I can ask you that now. Yeah, I'll ask you that now. Now this is a sort of like relevant. So as far as the convention goes, we'll probably just go in and out of this.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about how the convention got started. How I mean, was there any other? I mean, obviously you guys had been to fan conventions. What conventions did you go to, and what spurred you to try to do it on your own? Because it's very, very hard to do.
It was a joke. Literally, it was a joke.
GrossFest started as a joke. Another convention here said they were going to stop doing their convention. And somebody said, on Facebook, oh, hey, Tim, you should have your own convention. So I'm like, yeah, that'd be funny. So as a joke, I started a Facebook page and said, we'll call it GrossFest. And it just blew up.
Over a weekend, literally blew up. And
it was a joke. And everybody's like, are you really going to do this? Are you really going to do this? And it's like, sure, we're going to try.
Yeah. And of course, my brother asked me, you know how to run a convention? And I was like, oh, yeah. No, I know nothing. It's like, I've been to tons of them. I have no clue what we're about to do.
Yeah, we had no idea how to.
We still don't.
Yeah.
I think you're a lot smarter than that. I mean, yeah, you don't last 6 years and growing without knowing something.
Well, the main part of it is, anybody can run a convention.
Yes.
Anybody can say they start a convention.
Yes.
But the one thing I've noticed over the past decade and a half, disappearing as we have conventions that just do photo ops, and not to call any of them out, but Horror Hound, Days of the Dead, your very popular ones where you just go meet the cast of The Walking Dead or everybody else, like from whatever, put in air quotes, said popular TV show or popular horror movie for the mainstream. This started pushing out all the indie filmmakers. And this is what I noticed started happening at all the conventions.
Yep.
And even though I have made a few movies in my time, as I always say, I'm not a filmmaker, but I'm a fan of all these filmmakers and a fan of all their movies. And what I noticed was as the prices went up and the photo ops kept happening and you're paying $100 just to go shake a hand with John Carpenter, which, hey, I would love to do. But here's the fun part. At other conventions, I found ways to talk to celebrities, not paying anything, and just talking to them as normal people.
Yeah,
I understand they got to make a living. I understand this whole thing, but the price to get in, the price to get an autograph, you shouldn't be paying upwards of $500 is the problem.
God, no.
And the part of that was independent films were getting pushed out of a lot of these conventions. And literally it was getting to be, unless you went to Cinema Wasteland or you would go to, I'm trying to think of the name of it right now. I think it's Mad Monster Party in North Carolina, Tampa Bay Screams. There was very few and far conventions that was actually advertising independent movies. If it was just, hey, we'll advertise you, but are you paying us to play your movie? Which is another fun thing that I always get to hear from people. I had to pay $100 just to get my movie sent into this film festival. Why?
Yeah.
You got people paying for tables. You got people paying for coming in for, tickets to get into the thing. People paying for photo ops, people paying, you name it, they're paying for everything. So where's all this money going? So that was kind of the idea. It was like, if we're going to do something, I want to do something that I enjoy, and that's independent films. And my brother started enjoying the independent films, and I was letting him borrow some of the ones I had and everything. And he was really getting into it and understanding it. And just all the filmmakers that I have met over the years. And that was what GrossFest is literally, it's like, if we can open up a door and have people come have fun. And like you said it earlier, you were talking about George Romero. He is the best example. Guess who was an independent filmmaker at one time and for most of his life? George Romero. So, I mean, he is the best example.
And that's what we always say, is that you never know who's going to be in that room at GrossFest. It could be the next George Romero there.
Yeah, and we try to, basically it's like, yes, we know we're going to have a couple established independent people there, but we always too like to give somebody a chance, make them a guest. Because as the other running joke, since GrossFest is a running joke, I was talking to a lot of people this past GrossFest and after GrossFest, and I was like, been doing this, I've been writing books and making movies probably since now 1999. And I said, here's a fun fact. I have never been a guest at any convention. And everybody's like shocked, but I know all these. It's just one of those things. Why not give these people a chance? They may never be a guest at any other convention. They may, have to pay. Hey, come to a convention. It actually caters to what you're doing. And
a little glitchy here. They'll probably have to bounce out and come back in. But I'm gonna, yeah. Isn't that something? You would think that there would let me tell those guys to back out and come back in. All right, so I just told them through Facebook to back out and come back in. Hopefully, we could do that. That was going fine. I don't know what happened. There we go. Let's see. They'll come back in. They'll come back in here. So yeah, I was just thinking about that too. The brothers are absolutely right. Based on my own experience here in Michigan. Me and my friend Rob used to go to the conventions. When we first walked in, it was like $5. It was $5 parking and maybe I think $15, $18 to get in. And all the celebrities that we saw there, there were some names. Obviously, there were some names, but nothing major. Wasn't anything major when I first started going in there. But every year it got bigger and bigger. There, welcome back. Yeah, I don't know what happened. We were going along so well, and all of a sudden, the ghost of Romero came up there and shook our.
Yeah.
I think he was approving of what you're saying, and wanted to let you know that he was with you on this. Yeah, that is interesting what you just said, though, because I was actually thinking about that when you bounced out. I'm thinking, you guys been doing this for 6 years. I would think that you had already been a guest already for somebody else's convention.
No. The one thing it's funny about Pittsburgh, and you could ask anybody, the promoters of any convention in or near Pittsburgh hate each other. I don't get it.
Because they're competing for the same resources.
Yeah, and the sad part is as we have said about this, even though GrossFest is a joke, we're not here to compete with anybody. We're just here to give independent movies, independent filmmakers, artists, authors, to give them a platform, somewhere to meet others that are doing the same things they are. Just people having fun. And I said, that's always the big thing about GrossFest. When we did the very first one in 2018, I had a couple of people look in the room as it's going on. And I said, you see what's going on in that room right now? And they were like, yes. I was like, That is my brain. It's like, I want them to all talk to each other. This person from New York talks to this person from Chicago. This person from Tennessee talks to this person from Texas. It's like, I want them to make movies together because that means I get to watch more movies.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah,
But
there's no
you're saying
competition.
the
for
competition,
us.
yeah. Talk a little bit about the competition. I mean, when did you start seeing it manifest? I mean,
From
I'm
the
sure the first
beginning.
couple, from the very beginning. I didn't think you would see that till like maybe the third or the fourth year.
Well,
No.
we're doing something different than anybody else is doing.
As I've told people, stories of GrossFest 2018 and how it got off the ground was hilarious because we were making it up as we went along. And literally, I just decided, okay, I'm going to contact 6, 7, 8 people, ask them, here's a table, show up, you're a guest, this is what we're going to do. And all those people immediately said yes within 90 minutes of asking. It was screaming, not only they wanted to help support it, but they felt the need also, there needs to be something out there for independent film.
They're commenting about the competition. Says unfortunately, it's probably competition when it shouldn't be. It's all about sharing love for film, and I just commented that it's not really shocking. I mean, I expected that. I would expect to hear that because live music. I worked in live music for 10 years, and believe me, we didn't get along with other clubs very well either. So
Yeah,
I think because you're competing for resources.
But what's funny is this past convention, we had, let's just say, an unnamed promoter of a local convention come in, and literally I walked with him around GrossFest, and he's just like, this is amazing. He's like, I never even thought you would be able to do this. And I was like, well, my brother and I did it. And he's like, whatever Yins are doing, he's like, I want to help out. He's like, I never thought this was going to get this big. So he was surprised. And I always stayed friends with him, but we had a handshake agreement on different things when we first started GrossFest, and I've always kept to that. And he was just absolutely amazed at what we're doing.
Is he still running his? Is he still doing his show as well?
Yes, he is. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, good dude. Like I said, just don't want to name him or bring him into it, just because I know some others would get jealous, and
no.
I'm not even going to bring it up. But good person.
Problem. That's great, though. I mean, it just shows that not, because it's supposed to be fun, right? It's supposed to be for the fans. It's supposed to be for the filmmakers. It's supposed to be for the guests.
Yeah.
It's not made for backstabbing. It's not made for for that. But yet it creeps into it. So let's talk about the very first show in 2018. So now someone says, now she said they were going to create GrossFest, but someone says, okay, so you're going to do this. So what was your first step? I mean, had you gone to conventions already? Did you go there and make notes of what you saw? Like what should we be doing that other people, what should we not be doing what other people are? How can we make ourselves stand out? And where did you have the convention? Was it at a banquet hall at first, like a night of a
No, it was in an actual hotel.
Okay.
A lot of meetings. We did a lot of my brother and I discussing things, but trying to see who would be a part of our inner group, which kind of shrank as time went on, because you find out who's actually serious, who's not, who wants to actually put any money into it. If you're not putting any money, do you want to put time into it? Behind the scenes stuff. And as we went on, it just like the group shrank, but we had a plan of, okay, if we get this size of a hotel or this size of a room, this is how many tables we could fit in there. This is how much we could charge. The whole point of it was we were already planning a second one, no matter what the first one did, because you wanted to know if you did anything. But also, too, you wanted something to sustain itself, have a formula. And the thing was, the very first one, we knew we hit a nerve after it was done and over with. Like, we were expecting to lose our ass.
Right.
And we didn't. Because that's all I heard from other conventions that started. They lost their ass for years. So I don't know why. I don't know how. But I just knew we were doing something a little different. We weren't reinventing the wheel. We weren't going and reinventing the convention. We didn't want to. It's just we went about things a little differently. And maybe having the thinking of not having any clue of how to run a convention might have helped us in the long run as we're sitting here about to go start promoting year number 7.
It's people. I mean, I'm sure you've seen this, yourselves, but there are a lot of shady people in the convention business.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't think the average fan knows just how shady it can be.
Well, that was the other thing we said from the beginning. We would stay open. We wouldn't lie to, in which we have it's a small but very loyal fan base of GrossFest. That they even followed us through COVID. I give everyone total credit. And if anything, it's helped GrossFest. It's been word of mouth and through other filmmakers, and because we try to treat everybody the same. We try to treat everybody with respect. We try to basically, even if you're there as a vendor, you're still a guest to us.
Yes.
We want everybody to be happy. So, and even by some chance you're a vendor, you don't sell much, we want you to have fun. We want you to be happy you came to GrossFest. It's the whole spirit of it.
Isn't that something? Most organizers, they say, okay, you can sell, here's your table you bought, and like a lot of organizers will set a bar. They'll set that bar like, yes, you paid $100 for your table, but we need you to sell X amount of dollars at your table. So to justify, because we want you to sell well, so we can have so we can have you, so you can come back, or if you sell a certain level, like if we're gonna get a small cut out of it, just a small one, but a lot of organizers, that's what they do. They don't. I guess they don't really, they don't. I think a lot of times they just bury vendors. Okay, you bought a table, you're not a guest, you're not, you're filling up a spot, but that's all you're doing. You're not really, I'm just glad there's not an empty table there. So, I'm happy with that, but that's about it. They never swing by, they never talk to the vendor like, hey, you got everything you need? Is there anything that we can help you with? Do you need a water? That sort of thing.
We get literally before they even walk in the room, there's 2 waters sitting on their table. Every space.
And we help them unload their vehicles and bring their stuff in.
Yes.
To help them set up their table.
Yeah. Now I'm sure you mentioned, or I heard you mention earlier, and this is absolutely critical to anything like this, is that you have a core group of people who you trust, a core group of people who volunteer that come in there and help you make the show go.
I was going to say, I think we're down to just us, but I mean, really? Yeah, when it's not that we have volunteers, we have people that will show up, give us money for tickets, and literally be like, okay, I'm not going to go see that movie, but is there anything you guys need? Can I do something for yins guys? Like, it's funny because they want to support it. They want it to stay alive also. They want it to grow. It's weird. It's like we try to keep it close-knit. Like I said, try to just have it as us. But also, too, we want everybody that's in that room, if you're a vendor, a guest, artist, whatever, once you have come to a GrossFest, we want you to feel like you're part of the family.
And that's one of my favorite quotes from this year. One of our guests said, going to GrossFest is like going to a family reunion. And that's what we want, because we're all one big happy family there.
Mika from Double Feature Podcast says the formula that seems to have worked is, like you said, is word of mouth. And yeah, word of mouth used to be, it still is a ton. It still has a ton of influence, but even more so now, you have social media on added to the mix. So not only do you have people that go there and talk about their experience, but now you have people there that are filming it, are talking about it, are blogging about it. I mean, if and this is, thank God for this in a sense, social. This is one of the times where social media can actually come into play for
it can. It can, but we're kind of old school. Part of that is my fault. He believes in it too, where like you go and talk to these people face to face. I feel like so much more gets done when you're face to face with people and just talking about them, whether it's movies or anything of that nature. Yes, social media works a lot, but also too, in Pittsburgh, unless you have the right strings to pull, like again, this year, about a month or two out, I was emailing every local news source, every single radio station, you name it. I tried it. Didn't want to give me, just didn't want to give me the time of day. But literally, as I'm walking through, we had a friend who works for a smaller paper just asked me, "Do you mind if I start interviewing some of these people?" I'm like, as long as you're not bothering them, do whatever you want. Just, why not?
We can't afford to do regular advertising. We don't make that kind of, we're making enough money to do it again next year.
Yeah, that's the whole point for it.
And that's all we want to do.
Yeah.
We're not in it to make a living. We're not going to make a living. Trust me.
Yeah, I think that's what it is for a lot of organizers, right? They see the bigger festivals and they go like, they get that big dollar sign in their eyes, like I want to be that, or the stars in their eyes. I want to be able to go out there and get all these people to come to my convention, and I'll make all these promises here, and they don't have a pot to shit in. And a lot of times they'll advertise that so and so is going to be there. This is one of the tricks that they use. A lot of shadies do is they'll sit there and they'll advertise a star. They'll advertise it. Oh yeah. Here comes Jason Momoa. Yeah. And then the day of the show, it's Jason Momoa had to cancel due to a scheduling commitment. But the people have come all the way out there to pay their money. They're already there. So Jason Momoa is making a movie, got called away for a movie, but we're still here, so we'll go in anyway. They'll pay that $30 that they were going to pay. Hopefully, you get in to see Jason Momoa, but really, he never was booked. They didn't have the money for that, but yet they got the people there, and then they get them. Then they get them there. They get them inside the room, and then a lot of times you go in there, and it looks like, it looks like a flea market more than anything else. Who did you have? How big? Now, how big was your room at the hotel? Did you have a big banquet room? How many vendors did you have?
It was a big ballroom. It fits 40 vendor guest tables comfortably. And we have a hallway where we're at, but we also have a movie room and a tattoo room that is right down the hallway from the vendor room. Nice. And we have everybody all in one big ballroom, and it's comfortable. It's room for people to walk through. It's nice size.
How many people did you? What was your attendance like for the first year? How many people did you actually come through the door?
2018.
For the first year, I believe it was 200.
Not bad.
No, not for a one-day show.
Like 12 to 4.
Oh, I don't even remember what time.
Was it 11 to 7?
I believe.
Yeah, I think it was 11 to 7.
Okay. But then you did it. That's the most important thing. You did it.
Yes.
And everybody that, all the, and you sold all your vendor spots?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just trying to see how exciting it would have been. I know a lot of people don't look at 200 people and sit there and say, "Oh, that's it." But to me, that's exciting.
Yeah. That was the other thing, because like you were bringing up, besides, misadvertising certain stars, some conventions are about putting tables everywhere and anywhere. They could put a table in the bathroom if they could. If they know they could sell it there, they're going to do it. We figured out how many tables we wanted in that room, and that's like from there. That's where we go from. Period. We're not going to say we wouldn't expand at some point in the future, but the whole point is we want to make sure no one is left out. We don't want, oh, you know what? We can fit 2 tables in the hallway down at the other end of the hotel and try to put a sign up and be like, oh yeah, if you walk a half mile down the hotel hallway, you could find blah, blah, blah. No, we want them all right there in front of us. We want everybody, hanging out together.
Yeah, because that's one thing. That's one thing the convention organizers here at Comic Con, Motor City Comic Con, do. Before when we started going, me and my buddy Farm, when we go, it was the tables were intermingled. I mean, you could have a comic book creator here, or you could have a vendor here, and then you could have a movie, a movie actor here. Yeah. And as it got on, of course the ones with the shop, the vendors with the the vendors themselves have their own little corner, vendors corner, and then they have the creatives, and then they have the stars. But as it got on, all of a sudden they became more and more separated, and you could always tell which stars were, not considered the big names, because they always got put by the bathroom. And you know what? Let me tell you something. They know it. They know it because I sat there and they would comment on that. You see them on the way to the bathroom on the way back, and there's the stars, table maybe about not that far away from it. But they knew, on the hierarchy of things, they knew what the organizers sort of thought about that. It eventually got better because they got bigger. But what they did was they moved all the creatives to the bathroom area. So if you're an independent comic book maker or an author or an artist, you got pushed to that section. And then the stars got their own section away from everybody else, instead of intermingling and making sure that you would, you're going to see everybody. We wanted you to see everybody. Now they just separated into basically different sections. And of course, the celebrities got all the heat. They get all the action. And you walk over to the creators, whereas they would have the action, but now they don't. Yeah, not very much. Not like it used to be. And a lot of times you hear that from them going like, how's it going? It's not going that well this year. Well, yeah, but that's because they didn't have anybody next to them. Even a minor name. Yeah. It's still a great way to, you're still going to get some people come over and say hi. Who did you have for your first guest? For your first guest, who did you invite to come on?
Oh my God.
Geez, who was the big one?
Steve Rudinsky. Oh, the big one?
Yeah, I'm trying to think who was the biggest one person.
Well, we started out and we were advertising Todd Sheets, but he backed out halfway through it.
Oh,
and
he's shy.
Yes, I found that through different channels, and even met him in person. Good guy, but yes, that was what I started to learn and found out. Yeah, very shy. Does that quite often to conventions, so it was no big deal. Wow.
I know.
Yeah,
I felt bad. I can't remember.
Because we try to have different people every year too. That's the other thing. Yeah. So I don't know if you can really consider anybody huge names, because we had Fred Vogel of Toe Tag Pictures there. Who were the other guests? I'm trying to think. We had Mike and Amy Watt. We had Steve Rudinsky, of course. Trying to think. Did we have him that first year? That might have been the second year we had Glenn Bergowitz.
Yes,
yeah,
second.
that was the second one because we had him come out of Indiana. You're asking hard pressing questions now.
Well, let me get you off the hook. So
Because
now that you when you organized it, of course, the big thing is to get money to pay for it. So
Yeah.
how do we do this? Did we do this through fundraising, car washes, yard sales? How did you get did you sell T-shirts? How did you raise money for your first?
Literally, Tom was like, "I got some money."
Yeah, that was me.
And I was like, I will throw in whatever I can when I can, and just hope we had a good show and went from there.
Yeah, I mean, I fronted the money to get us started, and then, like you said, hope that we made enough
to keep covering
it. But I don't know if we'll ever get away from
where
I don't have to put something in, but that's okay.
Yeah, because I mean,
but that's because that's your model is designed. Yeah. I mean, if you next year, if you booked a big name guest or whatnot, you would make your money. You could go ahead. You could, that's the thing. You could get a big name, and then you sit there and say, okay, you could charge $50, $100. But we're getting, we're going to get 15% of everything you get signed. We're getting 15%.
Yeah, but where's the fun? Because because a big guest to us is like this past year we had Sean Donahue from Gator Blade Films,
and Jen was a big guest.
Jen Nagel. They're they're big guests.
They are. No, I'm talking like the typical convention guys, getting somebody like William Shatner, $500, and when you see that, when people see Shatner getting $500, they're sitting there going like, man, he's getting a lot of money. Well, guess who else is getting a lot of money out of that? Your organizers. They're getting 15%, 20% of that action.
Yeah, no, we cut that off at the pass from the beginning. We decided early on. And he gets contacted and we'll talk to each other. I get contacted on a regular basis. You name so-called celebrity, and it's usually goes one of two ways. The one way is me just explaining to him, hey, we have a guest list. We have a meeting every year before we do this. I will put you on the list. But here's the fun part. If you have a SAG card, don't even bother. Don't ask us. Because I'm not talking to your agent. I am not paying your agent. You're totally barking up the wrong tree because you're talking to somebody that's done conventions as a vendor probably since 2000. And I've seen this in somebody's so-called celebrities. If they could do it 52 weekends a year, they would. This is their paycheck, not making movies and things of that nature.
That's frustrating.
I don't want those people. I'd rather have the Steve Rudinskys, the Sean Donahues, David and Diana Silvio of Kiss of Death Productions. I'd rather have all those people and the people that are now getting movies on Tubi and stuff like that, but are still independent and don't have SAG cards. I'd rather have them so they could be there and we have agreements. Then you have certain so-called celebrity that might have been a name, did a movie in 1989 and hasn't done anything worth a damn since then. That it just, why bother with that stuff? I mean, you have how many other conventions that do that?
Yeah, I want to touch about that with you one second. Our friend Mika has a question. Says, how do you determine who you will have for guests? Do you already have an idea of who you want?
I have a notebook. I literally have a notebook where I have literally a couple pages of names of people that I've either met, I know, and now Tom's starting to get to know a lot of independent people, and I'll write names in this notebook. And probably like a month from now, him and I will have a meeting. We'll sit there and talk about who do we want to have for the next one. And like next year's, I kind of fell into somebody I never thought I was going to meet him, Mark Polonia of the Polonia Brothers Entertainment. I met him a few weeks ago, and literally just talking to him, never thought I'd ever meet him. Within 5 minutes, Mark Polonia goes, I want to come to GrossFest. He was messaging me. I decided to pull the trigger. I told my brother about it. I'm like, look, this is somebody that was always at the top of my list. I just never thought I would ever meet him or talk to him.
He is notorious for being shy with the media. I mean,
yeah.
He is notorious.
And he really wanted to do this, and I was like, okay, you're going to be in a room full of people that are exactly like you. So please. So we came to an agreement, and that's our first guest for next year. Mark Polonia, Jeff Kurtendahl, and Tim Hatch.
Oh gosh, Tim! Have you ever met Tim Hatch in person?
Just like in passing, he didn't say much to me. I think he didn't know what to make of me, to be honest. Which is, I'm surprised Mark Polonia was willing to talk to me. Let's just leave it at that, because
he's such a lovely soul. He really is. Tim is a great guy.
Sometimes when I meet people that I feel are a celebrity, it's like, imagine if I was 15 years old again. I turn into a teenage girl all of a sudden.
Hobbs has questions. Do you guys work with independent labels that only do independent horror? What about well, obviously we just found that out. So they work with people from Wild Eye, Toe Tag, and Bayview. I mean, Mark Polonia, that'll be fantastic.
Yeah, it was, again, he was one of the first names I wrote in my notebook in 2018, just because. And it's funny because I've been telling everybody, it was like, Mark Polonia and I we've made a pact. We are trying to find John McBride before GrossFest 2025 now. And John McBride used to work with the Polonia brothers in the late 80s and early 90s. And he's kind of fallen off the map of independent filmmaking.
Now, you can probably get somebody else that works with Mark a lot too, and that's a screenwriter director John Oak Dalton.
I know of the person, never met him, but as I said to Mark Polonia after we nailed down the agreement for GrossFest 2025, and Mark agreed, I said, let's leave the door open just in case you have more friends. We can always talk, and let's see what else. Because as soon as he mentioned Jeff and Tim, I was like, yeah, I'm all for it. I know people want to meet these guys in person.
Oh my gosh, the Polonia, the what they call the Polonia pals.
Yes.
There are a ton of them out there, and they're a lot of fun to talk to. Jeff's a really great guy too. That's always. We're already look. You're already hyping 2025 up already. This is hype right here. I mean, there's a lot of people who will watch this and either replay or stumble across it. And when they hear that you guys got Mark Polonia on there, they will go ahead and they will get in contact with you, because there are a lot of people out there who love those Polonia movies.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Polonia brothers. I have been for many, many years, and I even have we started this year the mystery movie just to play in between all the independent movie premieres we have, and I have a Polonia Brothers short film that I don't think was ever released. I got it sitting on a DVD at my house that I think I might make the mystery film.
That'll be awesome. That would be awesome. That would be fantastic. So you had 200 of the first one. So let's talk about you did 2019.
Yep.
Now the 2020, that was affected by COVID.
Oh yes.
So let's talk about 2021, because, here you are, you're getting momentum going, 2018, then 19 growing a little bit, and then 20 comes COVID, and I'm sure that was like, holy shit. But now you hear this 2021. 2021
was it. COVID and as COVID was going on and after COVID in 2021 into 2022, it was getting super tough to do anything.
Yeah.
I was hearing horror stories of conventions trying to even do the right thing. And that was the one thing my brother and I kept discussing as we went on. Make sure everybody was safe, everybody was comfortable. We can't do this in a hotel. We kept researching, we kept going around. We just didn't want to get off on the wrong foot. So in the meantime, to keep the GrossFest name out there, had a brother-in-law who had a bar with a very large parking lot. And I came up with the idea. I was like, why don't we just go and do an outdoor show? Tell everybody, we're going to be outdoors. Wear a mask if it makes you comfortable. If you come to bitch about anything, don't come.
Right.
Because we spaced out all the tents, everything we couldn't do to have these outdoor shows. We wanted to keep the GrossFest name out there. Now, in the meantime, while that was all going on and conventions were dying off left and right.
Yes.
And the biggest problem was everybody's price went up tenfold.
You know what? I don't mean to interrupt, but damn it, that's that's the thing. I was really, we were talking about that, and to me, I think when the conventions came back, I heard that too, and to me,
it's true.
It would have been a smart play, and how many conventions didn't do this? But it's like, why are you charging so high price? Come in there, offer the bare bones minimum, and tell your guests. Tell the vendors, look, normally a table will be 120. We're gonna do 90. We're gonna do 90. And we only ask maybe, we're gonna do 90. We'll try to, a guest come in. Listen, instead of charging $150 for an autograph, can you charge maybe 90? Or can you combine it with an autograph and a picture and a handshake or something like that? Try to make it easier for people coming back because but a lot of them didn't. A lot of them came out there and tried to get that money back like it was before COVID, and they just crashed and burned. I mean, they destroyed goodwill among the fans.
Yes.
The funny thing is, this year we still charged the same price to get in that we did in the first one.
Yeah.
What is your day? Do you have advance sales?
No advance. Just at the door. One day is $10. 2-day pass is $15.
We charged that in 2018.
That's amazing.
I mean,
amazing.
Yes, we could charge more, but we're trying to keep it as cheap as possible.
And be able to pay for, now that we believe we have found an actual hotel since we've been there 2 years in a row and they really enjoy us. That was the other thing. Trying to find the right fit for GrossFest. That was,
and find a hotel that we could afford. Because after COVID, when we went to, talk to different hotels about having GrossFest there, they'd be like, oh, yeah, we want $10,000 to $15,000 for a hotel ballroom.
For a day.
It's like, we don't make anywhere near that. We can't afford that.
Yeah.
So we really struggled to find a hotel.
That's why we did some outdoor shows for a while.
It's funny too. The same hotels that are sitting there going there, they're telling you, we need $10,000. And it's like, well, if you were getting that, we wouldn't be talking. You would already had a book.
Right, yes, right, correct.
So why don't we just cut that bullshit and come to an agreement? And if we hit, he charges $3,000. And then if we hit a certain point at the door, then we'll kick you down a little bit more. You can get a percentage of the door. But straight out trying to strong arm you for 10K coming off of COVID. Oh man.
Yep. That's why we just didn't even bother talking to him. We're like, yep, see you later. We moved on to the next one.
What has been to each of you? You can answer this. What have been your personal 3 favorite moments that you've enjoyed from putting on GrossFest? And Tim can go first, and then you can answer Tom. What has been your three most singular favorite moments?
The first moment, and it has to be, when we announced opening the doors for GrossFest 2018, because that's when reality hit, that it's happening. We did this. And to actually hear the vendors and guests in the room applauding that we opened up the doors for the very first GrossFest, that was a wonderful time. Second moment, which a lot of people didn't catch this, giving the GrossFest Lifetime Achievement Award to Steve Rudinsky.
Oh, really? How awesome.
A lot of people didn't catch it. A bunch of people came in the movie room to see him there. And Steve grabbed me and had me in front of him because he was about to cry. And he's like, I can't talk to people.
He really is an amazing human. He really is.
And I just said to him, I was like, dude, you're going to have to talk. But he's like, never in a million years thought you thought this highly of me. And I was like, I do. And I give him full credit because he takes pictures on a regular basis with his Fango Chainsaw Award, with the GrossFest Award. And it's like, for me, that's a big thing because I grew up reading Fango. It's a huge thing for me. And I would say the third thing was knowing we accomplished 2 days this year and to announce Mark Polonia coming to GrossFest next year for GrossFest 2025, and just actually hearing the people in the room, like literally you could hear them go, can we buy tickets right now?
Wow.
And it's like, you've got to wait.
Now, how soon will you be able, will you, now this year, you're going to sell advance tickets this time. Will this be your first time that you've sold advance tickets?
I don't know if we're going to be honest with you. I mean, why mess up a good formula we got going? I mean, I know it sounds behind the times, but we just talked about conventions, how they're doing things wrong. Hotels are doing things wrong. Yet somehow we're surviving doing unconventional things.
It would be rather cool though to sit there.
Oh no, you're not wrong. but Tom,
we'd also have to pay a company or something to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't really afford, and I don't want to raise prices so we can afford to do advance tickets.
I mean, yeah, that's true. All right, so that's fun. And again, we have to talk about Steve for a second.
Yeah.
For people who know Steve Rosinski as a filmmaker,
yes,
and he's making fantastic films, the Carousel series, and he's as much a cat lover as I am. What really makes Steve stand out is that he dresses like superheroes, and he does Make-A-Wish, and he goes all over the country. He goes all over the country to make appearances to sick and dying kids in costume. That's Hall of Fame material in my book.
Oh yeah,
that's Hall of Fame material. He's a fantastic. When he was telling me the first time I met him and we were talking about that, and he's telling me about that, I was like, so you're a filmmaker, but that's sort of secondary to me now, because now I'm looking at you like, he's like a real hero. He really is. I mean, you go in there and dress up like Spider-Man and go inside of a room and kids, and then kids' eyes light up. I mean, just an amazing, and yeah, I'm not surprised when he said he was almost ready to cry. I feel sometimes, and it sort of sounds funny we're talking like this, but I always feel like, man, that guy always sells himself short. It's like, man, you're a great guy. Embrace that, Okay, so there's been a lot of problems, right? Conventions always have a lot of problems. What's been some of the problems that you guys have run across? Or if someone came up to you and said, well, Tim and Tom, I want to do a convention. Like if my friend Hobbs that came up there and said, we want to do a convention. What are some of the pitfalls that you would warn us about, like, before doing it? And don't say don't do it at all. because
Don't
that's
do it
cheating.
at all.
Yeah, that's
But
cheating.
It's fine.
Before we get to that, no, say your three. I want to hear your three favorite things.
Oh yes, of course. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, the first one would be pretty much the same as Tim, is basically, seeing those first people walk into that room. Who, the funny thing is, they were the first people to walk into GrossFest. They've become very good friends of ours now.
Yeah.
Which is just funny how that worked out. But, and
what would be your second?
I don't know if I can, other than that first one and knowing we pulled it off, and, a big FU to all the people that said that we couldn't pull it off.
There was quite a few of them.
Yeah, there was a few that said we couldn't do it and we weren't going to succeed. So every year we do it, it's just, I think about them and I laugh at them. Yeah, I don't, other than the first year, I guess every year that we start is a highlight.
Now, you guys have these independent filmmakers come in. How do you find them? I mean, or do they find you, or do you keep your ears open for word of mouth, trade, social media?
A bit of everything, because, like I said, I've been doing conventions for over 20 years as a vendor. I've written over 10,000 movie reviews. At least half of them, if not 3/4 of them, are independent movies. Constantly watching movies, constantly trying to keep in touch with people. Like, over the years, got to meet and became friends with Terry Lofton of Nail Gun Massacre before his untimely death. I was friends and talking on the phone with John McBride. Mentioned him earlier. He was in a bunch of Polonia Brothers early projects. He made Wood Chipper Massacre and Cannibal Campout. I was talking to him on the phone before he decided to disappear. Became friends with like Matt Devlin, Glenn Coburn, and then Steve Rudinsky, Jim Roberts, Rick Fusselman. Just all these people, tried to keep in touch, try to support them, whether I was buying their movies or they would send them to me for review. Constantly, before Facebook got huge, before it was even MySpace, like messaging and talking to these people throughout the thing. And when we started GrossFest, like, there was several indie filmmakers like, hey, I live in this state. If you ever do 2 days, I want to try to be a part of this. Or it all depended where, what's going on, if they were still doing it. But I always tried to keep in touch with these people. And like, literally found a filmmaker, Corey Udler, who was out of Wisconsin, now lives in North Carolina. He's a country music singer, of all things. I said to him, I found him through YouTube again, because I hadn't seen him in a few years at some of the conventions. He made this trilogy called Incest Death Squad. And I just said to him, I was like, hey, I don't know if you heard, we're running GrossFest. Is there a chance you would get the band back together for a weekend and come visit us and just like promote the crap out of these rando movies that no one's ever heard of except me and 10 other people? And he's like, please tell me this is true. And I was like, it's true, man, because I'm going to play your movie at the convention just because. And there's a chance we might have them next year.
Was it insect?
Incest Death Squad. Yes. Yes.
Tonight on Dollar Theater, Incest Death Squad.
That's the point. Like, you have titles such as like Incest Death Squad, Holy Shit Zombies, Toxic Shock Zombies. Knowing these people that make these movies, it's like, this is what people want to watch. This is what's being popular on Tubi right now.
Yeah, there are a ton of crazy ass horror films on there right now.
Yeah, and it's fun because it's like, I know all these people, and I've met all these people. The guys that made The Barn, which I consider The Barn one of the biggest independent films made in the past 25 years. I seen The Barn at a drive-in about 45 minutes from my house, and literally walked into where the first time they showed it at this drive-in, they're hanging out in the concession stand. And I came in and they knew who I was, and not to brag about it, but they knew who I was. And I just said to them, I was like, this is the best. I was like, this is one of the best Halloween movies I've ever watched in the past 25 years. It was like, bar none. It's like, I haven't seen something this cool probably since Night of the Demons. And since then, I still say that about The Barn. And I always tell people, prove me wrong. And I'm not wrong, because The Barn is that damn good. And yes, Hobbs, I have seen Amityville Death Toilet. It's done by Evan Jacobs, produced by Ron Bonk.
And we are working very hard to get Ron Bonk on 8 Questions With.
Oh, he's an interesting dude.
Oh, I know that. Oh, yeah. Our friend Steven, who does a podcast called House of Horrors, he chased after Mark Polonia. Of course, I was pushing him all the way to do so.
Yeah.
I don't think Mark would ever talk to me. But I pushed him for 18 months but he landed an interview with him. He finally got an interview for him. Me personally, I'd love to talk to Brett Kelly, but I think Brett Kelly would come on here long enough to tell me to go fuck off and then get off.
I was gonna say Brett Kelly. I know him without knowing him. I've gone to dinner with him and a bunch of people a couple of times over the years. He's definitely, how to put it,
thin-skinned.
Not just that, just an odd character. And I'm not saying that in a mean way.
I'm not saying that in a mean way either.
He's very, very hard to gauge him is the best way to. It might be the best way to say something about Brett Kelly. I like some of his work, but I don't like all of it.
Yeah. You can, but no, I've seen some of his I've seen some of his videos and some of his posts on his social media, and I just felt like, man, like he would, he would not be, he would get upset easy, like I couldn't have him come on the show and ask him some of the questions I want to ask. I don't think he'd stay. I think he just
you're probably right. But as I always say to indie filmmakers, whether I dislike or like your movie, remember, it's just an opinion. Right.
An opinion's like an asshole. We all have one. So
yeah.
And we only have one. There's only one. Sometimes sometimes film directors, I'm sure he's seen this. I'm sure you have, because I'm sure they bend your ear, like after hours, and you sit down and talk to them about how the day went or whatnot, and they start bending your ear with about what's going on, and a lot of them will come out there and let's say they sold 400 copies of their movie, right? Yeah. 400, make it even 500. But there's 2 or 3 people that walked in and said, "Oh, that's some bullshit. That's some shit, right? That's a shitty ass movie." They will talk about those 3 people sitting there saying that was a shitty movie, and ignore the 500 people who bought the damn thing. It's like it's just like, man, it's like, now, have you ever had it? And now I want to know, let's talk a little darkness here, but have you ever had a guest where, how do you handle a difficult guest or vendor who, because it all does happen. How have you ever had to deal with that? Where a guest has no haven't.
No, we really haven't. Part of it is too, I think, because of both of us being upfront with everything we're doing, whether it's the guest, the vendor, or the person buying the ticket to come in the door to go watch. We've literally had people buy tickets to our show and just go watch the movies. So we really haven't had a problem. But as I always said, I've been doing the conventions for so long. I'm like, if I have to come talk to you because you're being difficult, apparently you've done something stupid, because I've done all of the stupid stuff. And it just, for us, hey, knock on wood, we haven't come across that.
Yeah, that's because everything has its bumps and bruises. Everything goes through that. So, now, do you guys talk about your budget as far as guest budget goes? I know that's a big thing with conventions or street fairs or whatnot. with how you pay your big guests. Like, how do you pay them? How do you negotiate? Like you've already mentioned about, no SAG actors need to apply.
Yep.
But even so, independent filmmakers still got to eat. They still got to. Have you guys regulated your appearance fee for every guest, or
let's just say,
is it case by case?
without giving away too much of what we do, we this is the reason why him and I have conversations and decide who's the big guest or who we are, how to put it, willing to maybe help out some in order to get them there. But again, we try to treat everybody equally. And if it's within the budget, we do certain things in order to make people comfortable. But are you asking if we're paying people some money or thousands of dollars? You're looking at the wrong people, because the budget is basically this empty can of beer for GrossFest.
GrossFest beer, GrossFest fund right there. First beer can. I know you guys are fair. I know you guys pay your talent to come out there and make an appearance. I mean, that's professional, and you guys are nothing but professional. So I'm sure that happens. I'm not going to ask you details about what you pay.
No, it's one of those things. If you're looking for a paycheck, you're barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah, let me ask you about that. Because Tim, because you mentioned before about a lot of actors. Because I sort of look at it two ways. I sort of look like the spring and summer is convention season. It's like a lot of independent actors, because I try to get people to come onto the show and talk. Like we're doing tonight. But a lot of times during spring and summer, I have a hard time getting them because a lot of them are doing conventions. And then in the fall and the winter time, then they're filming or what have you. But you mentioned earlier about if some of them could do a convention every weekend.
Yeah.
Really, is that really the case? Because I would think that a lot of these people, they'd rather be out there doing a movie than being stuck in
I would like to say that, but I mean, if you're paying attention to some of these conventions, let's not say A-list people, but some of more maybe B-list people without naming names, they're living off of past, which more power to them. Let's get that out there. More power to them that you did something awesome in 1981 and you turned into a werewolf. Good for you. We won't talk about the other crap. You were in a Dr. Pepper commercial, but let's just say, yeah, if that said person had their way, they would work a convention every weekend, because some of these people, without naming names, are getting paid guaranteed money. Bless you. Guaranteed money to show up, let alone they're now charging you a fee for autographs, which they're getting, let alone the guaranteed money from the promoter. Now they want a piece of that autograph, so that's what drives up the fees and everything. And I mean, I think John Carpenter, if we're going to be reasonable and talk about somebody we can name that has just come out and basically said, hey, I'm never going to make another movie. All I want to do is collect a paycheck and smoke weed. And it's like, dude, I love you. You're awesome. But I'm not going to pay $150 and go shake hands with you. Not when you're high and have no clue who I am.
Right.
I mean, I have gotten to meet other celebrities like John Saxon, Fred Williamson, John Coral Beekler before he died, who's awesome, Jeff Burr, very talented people. And if you talk to them as regular human beings and catch them at the right time, you're not paying the astronomical amounts of money. But there is a certain sect of celebrities that you see them advertised at every single convention. Mm-hmm. Like you said, some of it is the conventions have made this happen. Horror Hound, Days of the Dead. I mean, some of these much bigger ones that we can never compete with have created this atmosphere where some of these guests make more money at these conventions than they do at said B movie that will show up on Tubi.
I was going to ask you, yeah, the the Dr. Pepper shit. I was just going to mention, some of the guests, these horror conventions. It's there's a lot of horror icon royalty.
Yeah.
Certain, do they have that same mentality as far as they rather just sit and rotate along the conventions, or do they sit there and say, I'm only here because I have nothing, I have nothing on the table.
Oh, no, I've had several celebrities tell me they're just there because they were guaranteed money, and if they could, they'd walk away and go to their hotel room right now.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. Do they really?
Yeah, I mean, but there's other ones, and I think that's gotten lost in the past few years, especially since COVID. There is a lot of celebrities, and I mean, you've seen the signs where they're now charging for handshakes. They're now charging if you take a photo by accident 50 feet away with your cell phone. They have handlers that come out and grab you. And it's crazy. It's crazy,
Wow.
Tom.
Yeah, probably recommend them not doing that.
And me going to conventions in the past. What I would like to do is, as I was setting my own table up, I would walk around. I would pick out a celebrity, John Carl Beekler being one of them, and knowing how he is or was at the time. I'm sorry, R.I.P. And just saying, Mr. Beekler, and I said, "Hey, besides you got screwed on Friday the 13th, Part 7, what's your thoughts on Charles Band?" And right there was just lighting, basically me throwing a match onto a big pool of gasoline and listen to John Carl Beekler just go nuts about Charles Band in the late 80s. That's how I've gotten to meet some of these people, just having normal conversations. And I think some of these celebrities thrive on normal conversation.
Oh God, yes. Just to come up there, just to talk, just to I mean, I definitely agreed. I mean, nobody, and oh my God, have you ever had any problems? Have you ever had any problems with any obsessive fans who try to make guests a little uncomfortable? Have you had to run across that problem yet?
No, we haven't. Not yet.
Not yet. That's
not yet. I mean, let's not jinx it. That's why I said not yet. I mean, because when you're getting some of these guests in, and some of them have maybe like this year, we had somebody come in from California. We had somebody from Florida. We had a vendor from Texas. We're having people that in the Pittsburgh area that some of these people from around the Pittsburgh area, whether they're from West Virginia or Ohio or, northern Pennsylvania, may have never had a chance to meet some of these people. So you just never know. So let's not jinx it and hope that the crazies stay at home. And
it is horror movies after all. So, eventually that will happen.
Yes.
And what other aspects of your conventions? What do you, you mentioned you did film festivals. What else are out there? Like if I'm going to GrossFest 2025, my first time out, what am I expecting to see? What am I seeing? I walk through the door.
You're gonna see some of the strangest people you've ever met in your life, but you're also gonna meet the nicest crowd of people you've ever met in your life. And it's everything from people that have written one book to have written 25 books, somebody that has painted many, many paintings but never got recognized, somebody making music for other movies that you never even realized that person has literally composed music for maybe 20, 25 movies. I mean, literally one of our guests, Matt Cannon, just composed music for the Spider Baby remake. To me, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. He's moving up. But you're also going to meet indie filmmakers. We had a guy there that claims he's made over 200 indie movies now.
Oh,
But
you
we
met
also
Dustin-
had a
met
couple
Dustin
people in there that
Ferguson, huh?
made 4 and just
Okay.
getting started.
So you met Dustin Ferguson then?
I have not met him yet. Like you were saying earlier, I don't know if Dustin and I would get along. I
Oh,
think
no.
I'm one of the few people that has criticized Dustin.
You and me both, brother. You and me both.
As I always said to Dustin, again, everybody has an opinion, and what's funny, as much as I have disliked some of Dustin's films, I've also pointed out where some of his talent is, and
Really? Where
yes.
is it? Where is it? Because I've never seen it.
You should check. Honest to God, dead serious. Check out some of the documentaries he's done. I think he's when it comes to documentaries, he knows exactly what to do. He's very good at it as a producer and a director of documentaries.
So basically, if he did that, he'd be okay. But he has a bad habit of making movies, and
so does a lot of people.
yeah, but not like that. I mean, I'm not gonna hold back. The guy's
if we're gonna name names, look at Sean C. Phillips, or I like to call him Sean Phillips because I think the middle initial, that's just crazy. He thinks of himself as a filmmaker, but it's like, please name me a movie that he's made that's actually well done.
Yeah, he wouldn't be where he's at without the Mahal brothers. He really wouldn't.
And just being a YouTube channel person that claims he watches all these movies, even though if you know him, that's not true because we know he doesn't watch all of them. But that's for a different conversation.
Yeah, yeah. I saw Coup Duder before he went into the movie and making business.
But
I've heard stories.
Like I've always said, while I'm reviewing movies or I talk about different filmmakers, yes, I could be critical, but I also, as much as I always say, it's easy to take a dump on somebody's movie. Why don't you try to find something nice of the movie or point out something be able to give them constructive criticism? And I try to do that all the time.
Me too. Me too. I'm not gonna. I do try. But I can't with Dustin Ferguson. I really can't. I
get it. Believe me, I have heard this from other people, and I've never met him in person, so I don't know. Because I like meeting people in person, so I feel like that's the most informed opinion that I could have is when I meet them.
I would love to talk to Brett Kelly if I could. I would love to have him come up and talk. I would. I think he's probably a nice guy, but I just know too that he's pretty sensitive, and it's like, I think, you got to be, when you're doing independent films, it's one thing they need to tell you when first time you do your first independent film is you got to have a thick skin because the first few movies that you do are going to be sort of rough and you're going to hear about it, but that's okay. It means you're growing, it means you're learning, yes. Right? Or you're supposed to. So you gotta be able to handle that. Hell, I handle that here. I get people telling me, like, dude, man, if you say one more time during one of the interviews, I feel like I just want to punch the screen. I get that, or you go off on a tangent, or you over talk people or whatnot. I get it. We're not all Dan Rather, but if we do what we do, we got to be able to take the good along with the bad, or constructive. I don't think it's bad. I think it's constructive. And I do try, to look for the silver lining. I think anybody who reviews films or loves independent films, independent horror, you gotta love it. You gotta love, you gotta be able to spot the silver lining in it.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it be an actress or a future director. That's how I look at it.
Oh, believe me, because Chris Seaver, another filmmaker I think he's trying to come back into filmmaking. He was retired there for a couple of years. I absolutely hated his Teen Ape series and his Filthy McNasty series, but then he would do these one-offs like Ski Wolf and the Weird Z's and some other stuff. And I was like, is this the same person? Because I loved some of this other stuff he made, But this other stuff was just like, I don't get it. But sometimes you have a certain crowd you're trying to make movies to. And as Fred Vogel said to me once about the August Underground movies, sometimes you need to do this in order to make money, to make what you love.
Right. That's true. Does anybody have any last second questions for our guests? When is the what date do you have for GrossFest for 2025? What date will it be?
August 1st and 2nd.
So August 1st and 2nd, 2025.
Yes, sir.
And we have your website. I posted that on top of the chat. If you want to keep track of Tom and Tim, you can go by their personal website. I have all their social media down below. You can go down there and check them out. They have an Instagram page. They also have a Facebook group page that you can go on and sign up and find out updates. Do you announce guests as soon as you get them? Do you announce them, or do you try to hold them closer to the vest, closer to the date?
When we definitely know who we're bringing in, we try to, have a write up for them and everything else, and like make sure, like, say if we have 4 or 5, we know definite. We'll try to give them a day. We'll post one each day. Like we'll have a week where we just post a guest for 2025 as example and put it out there. But we try to keep everybody in the loop.
Let's see. Okay, and Mika has a question. It says, where do you see you in future years? Yeah, let's do that. Let's make that our last question of the night. Where do you see GrossFest and where do you see it in 3 years?
That's tough.
Hopefully at the same hotel doing 2 days.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully it's growing bigger and we're literally beating people off with a stick, if that makes any sense. That would be the best thing that could happen for it. Or
a SAG actor actually contacts you and says, "I want to waive that fee." I just want to.
No lie, the dude, forget his name. He was in Friday the 13th, Part 5. He contacted me the day of the show and asked me about GrossFest. And I was just like, sir, before we even go down this road, it's like, you're not what we're looking for.
Wow. I wonder how people take that. But let me ask you this. Well, how about this fun question here? Who are you guys' each 5 dream guests? If you could get 5 people, it doesn't matter who they are. If you each get 5 guests, who would they be?
Well, got Mark Polonia. That was one marked off my list. I would love to get John McBride. Independent-wise, I mean, Terry Lofton, who made Nail Gun Massacre, now that R.I.P. Terry Lofton. I love that guy. He would have been a great guest. R.I.P. Jeff Burr, even though he does actually have a SAG card. He'd been the one person I'd make an exception just for the mere fact he directed Leatherface 3 and directed Puppet Master 4 and 5. And Jeff Burr has tons of stories about Charles Band. Trying to think of indie people. 2 other. That's a good.
You can go outside. Think about everybody. Anybody who you can get. Anybody who.
I would, if we're gonna go anybody. Again, another one. R.I.P. Rutger Hauer. Love that man. And one of the greatest actors of all time. Maybe the only other one that is still living is Lance Henriksen. He is not only a connection to Roger Corman being in Piranha 2: The Spawning, he worked with James Cameron, Terminator, Aliens, but also he worked on the Millennium Show for Fox Network, which was Chris Carter's second project after X-Files.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like, yeah. How about you, Tom? What about you? What about your 5 guests? 5.
Already had one of them as a guest last year. That was Drew Marvick, who's just one of the most nicest people around. You know who I'd really like, and I'm sure Tim would be for that too. Would be Gunnar Hansen.
R.I.P. Yes,
It would be one of those people.
I love that dude. Yeah, I have a
What about
Polaroid of
Kane
him
Hodder?
choking me at 15.
What about Kane Hodder?
I love Kane. He's one of those guys that does way too many conventions.
Yeah, he does.
I
Yeah,
love him.
yeah. I know he does a lot. It's like, to me, but again, it's one of those things where it's like you really don't see a lot of people. They talk about him a lot. A lot of these, the thing is, so it's a lot of this is what happens. A lot of these people, they people talk about them a lot, but there's really no one out there giving them parts. And they're not asking for, they're not SAG. They're not asking for an arm and a leg. They just want to work.
Yeah.
But and more than a day, come out for a day, and so we could do that one scene, so we could put you in the movie. I think a lot of these actors, I do think they want to work. I don't think they want to sit around to every convention. Yes, they're getting that money. You're right. Some probably do, sit there, drink Dr. Pepper and scratch the werewolf fur. But but there's others that would, I really do believe this. I really do believe that if you really have their way, they would rather be out there working. Yeah, they're not going to get the money or so, but they're going to get out there, they're working. It's sort of hard to sit there and say, I'm an actor. Well, what'd you do last? Well, I haven't worked in 3 or 4 years. That's terrible.
Yeah,
That's terrible.
some of them, it's not even 3 or 4 years. It's 10, 15 years. Look at Edward Furlong. He's only done a couple of projects, and all of a sudden, he's becoming a convention staple.
Yeah, I was gonna. Has he been doing a lot? I was gonna say
he's been starting to do ones in the past year or so.
I listened to him on a Rosenbaum show, and he's got 6.5 years of sobriety underneath his belt. It's amazing. I was so happy. I was like, he looked like he was enjoying life, but yeah, well, he wasn't, but the thing is, though, he was very, I was like, man, I would love to talk to him. Before, I didn't think that guy would ever make it alive. I didn't think he'd be still with us after all.
Well,
this
he
time.
got famous very, very young, and we've all heard those stories.
Right. But yeah, he appeared on Rosenbaum's show, and he has got 6.5 years underneath his belt. And he's trying. I think he's trying to get back into the business. So I would tell him to be very careful about that. But I wish him the very best. He's worked his ass off. All right, we have hit. Andre says 15. Yeah, 15 years. There's a lot of conventions. The guy who on Night of the Living Dead. They're gonna get you, Barbara. I think that's all he did. I think it's all he ever saw. Every time I saw him at a convention, that's the only thing that was up there was
Bill Heinzman, and Russ Striner.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's all that guy ever did.
Yeah.
And he would tour on that forever and a day. All right, boys and girls, we have hit our time. I want to thank our guests, the mighty Gross Brothers, Tim and Tom. Talking about GrossFest, August 1st and 2nd, 2025, next show. We will be bringing you updates from the brothers as they announce their guest list. We will mention it on here, and we will also be talking to them the closer to the date of the show. We'll have you guys come back and give us an update on where you're at. Or come on a panel and talk. We'll talk horror movies. Okay. I want to thank the chat to coming out and hanging out with us tonight. I appreciate it very much. We will be back. We will be back next week, the first week of September, with Kelsey Livingood, also known as Mischief, and she will be here on Tuesday. Was it Tuesday or Wednesday? I think
she was a guest at GrossFest this year.
Yeah.
Was she?
Yeah. Yes, she was.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Small ass world. Not surprised. Kelsey will be here, and I do believe she'll be dressed up as Mischief, which I hope so, because I love horror hosts, and she looks her look looks very, very cool. And we'll be talking to her on Tuesday, and next Wednesday we'll be talking with Michael from Movies and Beyond, a very fast rising YouTuber, also a terrific human being, and he'll be here on next Wednesday at 8 o'clock. All right, YouTube brothers, stay right there for a second. To everybody else, we're going to say thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate your support, and we will talk to you soon. Oh, the midnight hour tonight at 12, if you guys are still awake. Talk to you soon. Peace.